Miscarriage affects 1 in 4 pregnant women in the UK within the first 12 weeks. But many struggle to talk about the devastation it can cause, often suffering in silence. Our guest today knows firsthand the heartbreak of losing not just 1 but 2 babies, and even continuing to work whilst she was miscarrying. Here to share her story, as well as her joy at now being 7 months pregnant, please welcome MP Stella Creasy.
Woo! I'm gonna be...
Whoa! There you go.
Welcome, welcome.
Yeah, it's a special birthing chair we've got.
Not yet. No, please, not yet.
How are you feeling?
I'm OK. I'd love to tell you that I was super excited, but I'm still really terrified. I still think this can't be possibly happening this time round.
And that's what happens, and I guess will resonate with very many families and women across the country, Stella, because like we say, that statistic of 1 in 4, and yet we don't really talk about it that much. I think it is something that a lot of women suffer in silence with.
The thing that's really struck me is that now being pregnant, a lot of people come and talk to me about being pregnant, and that's lovely and it's supportive. And I just wish there's a way that we could do that for women who maybe haven't been as lucky as I am now. I mean, I feel very sorry for the sonographers, because every time I go for a scan, I burst into tears and they think they've done something terribly wrong. But actually, that comes from a place of just being really anxious about it. And
and hearing that heartbeat.
It completely blows you away. It blows you away. But I've had scans before and it go wrong. And I'm here today because I want women and men out there, because it affects every family, to know that they're not alone, and to know that we've got to find a way of talking about this, and we've got to find a way of helping people through it.
It was 2 little ones that you were quite far onwards. Was it about 11 weeks at that stage, which is at the point where you're just about
celebrating, really, aren't you?
Exactly. It's just that.
Well, and in fact, the second time, because I thought I'm being so silly about this, because I'm sure this time around it's going to go right. I'd gone for a scan on my own, thinking I'll just put my own mind at rest, and then they had to tell me that they were sorry that the heartbeat had stopped. And I just was... I mean, I almost walked out into the traffic. I was completely mindless for it. And then 24 hours later, I was back at work running a big public meeting for the local community about how we could protect our local children from knife crime, just thinking, I can't even protect my own child.
Did you feel you had to do that, Stella? Did you feel... I mean, did you know...
I've always tried to keep my personal life separate from my professional life. I'm passionate about my community of Walthamstow, passionate about their rights. It was an irony to me that, having had that happen with 2 miscarriages and being able to... So the first time it happened, I was actually on a protest for a woman who had been raped and murdered in Walthamstow, and the man accused of it had fled to India. In fact, we've just heard today he's going to have to come back to the UK, and that's 8 years of hard work to get them back. But always I'd wanted to put my community first. And ironically, when this pregnancy got a bit further along, so I started thinking, OK, well, I'm going to need to make plans on this. I rang the parliamentary authorities and said, look, OK, so what's the cover? I mean, you know, obviously, when you had your baby, they didn't leave an empty chair. Somebody came and covered your work. And they said, we don't recognise MPs going on maternity leave. It doesn't happen.
I mean, how ridiculous.
Well, one of my colleagues, they said to her, well, this doesn't happen very much. There's not really a problem for MPs. And you thought, no, maybe that's the problem, that you don't think men and women of childbearing age would be in our parliament. And yet we need our parliament to be able to represent families.
Exactly. So moving... Yeah, exactly. So, as you say, the life of an MP is a very busy one. And, you know, recently we've seen Ruth Davidson, head of Scottish Conservatives. She stood down from that role, but is continuing as an MP. We've seen Tracy Crouch turn down a cabinet role because she's got... How do you think you're going to react once you have your child?
I was very clear that Walthamstow shouldn't miss out because it had elected a female MP.
You have to apply individually to say, this is why I want
Which is not what you'd have in any other workplace. And look, out in our country, a third of women get into debt when they go on maternity leave because they don't have the proper cover. We're not a good country at helping family life work. And if we can't even get it right in the place that makes the laws, how can we even get it right in the rest of the country?
But you need women around the cabinet table as well. So on top of being an MP and then going into the cabinet, that's an even bigger role, isn't it? And it puts women off.
Well, actually, ironically, the civil service does have some support. It's for the rest of the MPs, and I'd say for men too. Look, I've got male colleagues who are about to have children as well, and I know they're struggling to be able to be good dads, which is what they want to be, and good MPs. And actually, if we're not able to put our families first, how can we do that for our communities as well? So it does matter to get this stuff right. We can't start from the idea that an MP is a white man of a certain age with independent means and work backwards. We've got to change that.
And from taking that on then, in terms of, you know, you're going to have a baby and it's going to be very time-consuming as well as your job.
Well,
are you going to be...
a small matter of Brexit, and I am totally with you on Christmas.
The B word.
With you on Christmas.
She said
Stella, don't do that to me.
There's a lot going on right now.
But are you going to fight this IPSA situation?
Oh, yes.
You're going to try and get it in legislation that it automatically happens for pregnant MPs.
It's up to IPSA and the House and the Parliament to be able to make those changes and just say it's the 21st century.
Yes.
Of course, if somebody... And also it's the same, look, if someone gets ill, some of my colleagues have struggled with very serious illnesses like cancer and heart disease, where actually you'd expect a good employer to be able to provide cover so that their constituents don't miss out. We don't just sit in Parliament staring at each other. We do a lot of work in our communities, do a lot of casework for our communities. That work has to be covered, and that's what this is about. So it's the same in the country as well. We can't have a situation where people get into debt because they want to be good parents.
Of course not. Of course not. Are you managing to take any time away to just take in the moment?
Because I noticed before that my heart goes out to you as a and I was 42 when I had my child as well. So as well as being an older parent, you've also got the previous
geriatric, according to
but geriatric. When people were 28, they call them geriatric moms. So we're well into the But the thing is, you still said earlier when you said if this pregnancy goes ahead, you're clearly still. You're still on the edge all the time, so you're doing an amazing job keeping it all together.
But you know what? I always think it's really important. We shouldn't tell people that being anxious is a bad thing. We should tell people that there are ways that you can cope with it. For me, like I say, I'm really lucky. I've got a really close family who, you know, kick me up the arse when I'm behaving badly and also keep me going. I've got really good mates who've been brilliant.
But some people don't, Stella, as we say, so it's important that you talk about that these are normal feelings.
And you have a supportive partner as well.
Yeah.
But going back to the whole Westminster, you know, everybody goes on about it being very male-centric, etc. And recently, Jeremy Corbyn was caught mouthing, everybody thought, stupid woman, which he later claimed he hadn't said. But you quite bravely, I thought, tweeted, because obviously he's the head of your party, that you didn't think this language was good in a progressive, you know, in a way of trying to be... No. Have you ever had a conversation with him about that after the tweet?
I've had lots of conversations with Jeremy. In fairness, I've been in the Labour Party for 26 years and I've had lots of difficult conversations with every single leader of the Labour Party and I've always campaigned for them. Yeah. You know, I happen to think that people want women to know their own minds and to be able to speak their own minds. The sadness and frustration to me at 42, having been involved in politics now for 20 years, is that doesn't seem to be changing anytime soon. If anything, we're going a bit backwards on presuming that women do what men tell them. And you hear that in Parliament, and you hear that language and that aggression. I mean, for goodness sake, we've got a Prime Minister who uses the phrase girly swat, as if women being clever is a bad thing. I mean, like, you know, I'd love to take him on in a pub quiz, because I'd love to see. but, you know, it's the 21st century.
So you just need to keep calling it out.
And I want my kids to grow up in a world where actually, whether you are a boy or a girl, what everybody's doing is rooting for you to achieve.
Yes.
And that shouldn't be about whether you're male or female.
Yeah.
Stella, good luck in the next couple of months, and we're so delighted that you're sitting here and everything's going so well. That's the next time we'll see you, absolutely. Thank you so much. Stella Creasy, ladies and gentlemen.